Hey, and welcome back to Smoky Ribs, and welcome to a special edition of Smoky Ribs. This video is going to be about a company and a product that really hits home in my area and a lot of areas like off the Atlantic and Pacific. It really pertains to anyone that lives in these sorts of areas, but it's beneficial for all. It's for our ecosystem overall. It's really worth watching. We're trying to raise awareness through this video, so I wish you'd give me about 3.5 minutes of your time, and I'm going to let the Waller brothers explain to you about their product, their mission, and what it's all about. And afterwards, I'm going to be putting together an oyster recipe with their product, and it's really my own take on Oysters Rockefeller. And if you know anything about Oysters Rockefeller, then you know that that recipe is probably the most well-kept secret in the world. It's the most sought-after recipe, and no one has it outside of Antone's, the famous restaurant there in New Orleans that started in 1840. The actual recipe was developed in 1899. It's been under lock and key ever since. No one has this recipe. So actually what I'm doing is not even going to remotely resemble Oysters Rockefeller, even though I will be using some components that's known to be in the Oysters Rockefeller, but it's gonna be one outstanding oyster dish, and I'm going to be calling this Russ's Charbroiled Oysters. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. And just give me 3.5 minutes of your time, let them tell their story, then we're going to get into the cooking end of this.
We set out to improve the way people cook oysters, but then our idea got a whole lot bigger.
Growing up in South Louisiana, you learn to fish around the time you learn to walk. And as you grow up, you realize there's more to it than the thrill of the catch. You see, it's about the food and the celebration at the table. Hi, I'm Adam Waller, a physical therapist, food lover, and amateur chef.
And I'm Tommy. I work in national security, and I love seafood. And together, we invented the Oyster Bed. Having served more than 12 years as a Marine infantry officer, I've deployed overseas numerous times. And our family tradition is that we get together with a sack of oysters and seafood to spend time together before I ship out. And this is how the idea was born.
So even though oysters have been eaten for thousands of years, they've never been easy to open. For most people, even with the right tools, it's still difficult and time-consuming. And anybody that's ever tried to cook oysters knows that it's not easy. And we knew there must be a better way. So while Tommy was deployed overseas, I studied hundreds of oyster plates from the 19th century, and we came up with something completely new.
Once home from deployment, we researched to see if this idea was something we could patent, and we hired one of the region's best patent attorneys. And he said,
"Guys, you have something here. Through the research that we've done, we have never seen anything like this."
So not only did our invention capture the shape of the oyster, but we also designed it to capture the tasty fluid that renders from each oyster as it cooks. With perfectly sized cooking wells that retain 15 milliliters of fluid, a consistent 5-degree grade, and an innovative system of openings and channels that drain to a common reservoir, the Oyster Bed gives the chef command over all the precious renderings. We found the perfect material from Wilton Armatail. Armatail is a highly conductive and versatile metal, resistant to thermal shock up to 1,000 degrees. Lightweight and easy to clean. The Oyster Bed brings the cooking experience to life, and the possibilities are only limited by one's imagination. But just like an oyster, there's two halves to every story.
the other half is the cause. You see, every time I'd come home from deployment, the coast would look different. Because for the last 25 years alone, we've lost land at a rate of 1 football field per hour. As we studied oysters, we realized that they can help. Because they're a keystone species, everything depends on them. Did you know that a single oyster filters 50 gallons of water a day? And that oyster reefs are one of the best impediments to coastal erosion?
So, how can the Oyster Bed help? Because the Oyster Bed tends to use pre-shucked oysters, it helps consumers and restaurants recycle oyster shells instead of sending them by the millions of tons to landfills. So not only does it take out the effort of shucking, but it also helps leave all the shells at the shucking house, where they'll go back to the fishermen and back into our estuaries, creating more oysters, more reefs, and preserving more land.
We wanted the launch of the Oyster Bed to raise awareness about these issues. So we've teamed up with some of the nation's top conservation organizations, wildlife experts, engineers, and most importantly, oyster fishermen, to embark on a conservation project that will be the first of its kind. Your support can make this project a reality and will also help us to donate a portion of the Kickstarter proceeds to this effort and provide a portion of our products free to restaurants across the country so they too can spread the word and help send more oyster shells back into our estuaries.
So we've put together some incredible backer products, and we need you to spread the word and get behind us for the launch of this new cookware brand. Because together, we can reshape our tables and our coastlines, one oyster bed at a time.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to watch that video. I hope you have a better understanding about the company and their purpose, their mission, and why it's really important. I'm behind them 100%. I live right here on the Gulf Coast, and I'm tired of seeing it erode away as well. People need to wise up and understand, you know, there's resources here that we can do things about and maintain and control, and that is one of them. And with the storms we have that blow in here over the years, you know, we need these oyster reefs, we really do. So be smart, buy the pre-shucked oysters, use a product like the Oyster Bed here to prepare your oysters in. Let them shells go back to the estuaries where they belong to create more oyster beds and help protect our shorelines. All right, we're gonna get started with this recipe by making a fantastic rich sauce of my own making. Let's get busy. Okay, just like with any other great recipe, we're starting with bacon. Right here, I have 6 slices of boar heads bacon. We're going to crisp this up real nice, and then later I'm going to crumble it into the sauce that I'm making. All right, while my bacon's frying, I want to take a minute and show you these products. This one here holds 1/2 dozen oysters. I have 2 of these, and this is going to fit perfect on my Weber kettle. 2 of them side by side. That's how I'll be doing these charbroiled oysters. And also, this is their large model. This is really nice. This would go real well inside your oven, a combination between bake and broil. Also, it would fit very nicely on a gas grill or any grill that would accommodate this. It's a little, I mean, just a little large for the Weber kettle, but if you had anything over 22.5 inches, it would work perfectly. All right, I removed my bacon. It's nice and crisp up. I got bacon grease still left in this pan. And what I'm adding in now is, these are baby portobello mushrooms that I chopped up, kind of a rough chop there. Now, a lot of oyster recipes, they will puree all these vegetables and make it more of a puree. And me personally, I don't like that. I won't mind chunky. I want to see bits and chunks in that oyster and that sauce. And so that's why I elected to do this. I'm going to let these go for just a few minutes before they start releasing their moisture. Then we're going to add in some spinach. Okay, now into this, I'm going to add in around 2 cups of chopped fresh spinach. I chopped this up earlier. All right, we're just going to let this wilt, begin to wilt some. Then we're going to add some more ingredients. Okay, now into this mix, what I just added is I added 3/4 cup of green onions. They're in here. I've added in about 1.5 tablespoons of fresh cut chives. I also added in about 1.5 tablespoons of fresh chopped garlic. All these ingredients are fresh. You want to go fresh. You don't want to use anything frozen on a dish like this. I'm a firm believer in fresh produce. You'll rarely see me use anything frozen. All right, now what I'm adding in is artichoke hearts. I just cleaned these a little earlier, and I got them sitting in a lemon water to stop them from browning. They will brown up awful fast on you if you don't do that. We're just going to toss them in here, let this go a few more minutes. All right, now I'm going to add in about 3 tablespoons of fresh chopped parsley. All right, I'm going to add in some black pepper, cracked black pepper. Now, you do not want to add salt into this. Between the saltiness of the bacon and also the natural juices from the oyster, remember they come from salt water, there is absolutely no salt needed. It's going to be perfect in flavor, perfect in taste. Okay, even though this is not Oysters Rockefeller, there is an ingredient that is believed to have been used in 1899, and that is this absinthe. Okay, this is actually outlawed in the United States for many, many years, just become legal again in 2007. It's because of the wormwood that's inside of here. And the United States version, the wormwood is at a minimal, and that's the reason they made it legal. They reduced the wormwood content. But this is sort of a licorice liqueur. Smells just like licorice. And we're going to be adding 1/2 a cup of this into here. Has kind of a green tint to it. All right, now be careful with this over your direct fire. I told you, this is going to be a rich sauce, very rich. What I got going in now is 1 quart of heavy whipping cream. All right, I got this back up to a simmer. And what I'm going to add now is probably, I don't know, somewhere between a teaspoon to a tablespoon of Worcestershire. Just use your own judgment on that. I'll just shake some in here. We're going to call that a tablespoon. Going to give it a good mix. We're going to let this reduce by half. All right, I got my sauce over here reducing. I got my charcoal fired up. We're getting ready to put some oysters together inside of the products, the Oyster Bed, and I can't wait to try these out for the first time and see how they do. I want to thank the Waller brothers again for giving me the opportunity to show the world these products and tell the world about your company and what you're trying to do. And it's very good cause. I hope everybody goes over to their website and do a little reading and read more in depth about what this company stands for. And I also want to thank you for the apron. I was going to wear it through the entire cook, but I don't want to mess it up, but I did want to show it off. All right, we're getting ready to put some oysters together here just a little bit. All right, our sauce has reduced about half. It's starting to thicken up somewhat. And what I'm going to add in at this time is some Parmesan cheese, grated Parmesan. That is about 6 ounces. All right, we're going to go in with some more Parmesan. All right, I'm going to save the remainder of this to top after we get them inside the oyster beds. So we're probably looking at a total of around 10 ounces of grated Parmesan cheese. This is an aged Parmesan, and it was imported. It's everything I've got in here is really top notch. All right, now I'm going to add some panko breadcrumbs. That's probably around 1/2 cup. We're just going to start with that much right there to begin with. See how we look. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add it all. About 1/2 cup of panko breadcrumbs. Oh yeah, this is thickening up just right. Between the cheese, the reduction of the cream, and the panko breadcrumbs, this is about what you're looking for right here. That is just pure heaven. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bust up this bacon, tear it up. We're going to mix it in as well. All right, so I'm going to kill the fire and just let this sit here and chill out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and assemble my first tray here. I'm going to simply take us an oyster. You want to add a little bit of that juice in there as well. We're just going to put these in these divots. All right, now some of these smaller oysters like this one, I'm going to put 2 in here. Plenty of room for it. That's just going to give us more oysters. I can also add another one into this one. Simply just going to ladle this out on top of the oyster. Probably about a good tablespoon, tablespoon and a half. Now keep in mind what was mentioned earlier in the video about these channels here. As these begin to simmer, and this juice is going to trail down this tunnel here into this reservoir, and that's going to be a fantastic dipping sauce to use with French bread. Oh man, yeah. All right, there's that tray. Let's get the other one done. Now pay attention right now to the reservoir. There's hardly anything in there. We're going to look at it after these are cooked. All right, we're going to simply place these oyster beds right here on top of this hot Weber. And it is hot. Now I'm going to take some extra Parmesan cheese. We're going to top these. All right, you might be wondering, how do I know when the oyster is done? Well, the oyster will bloom. It will like puff up. That's how I know. All right, I'm gonna place my lid on here and let this build up some heat, and we are cooking. All right, these oysters are ready. We're gonna remove this. We're gonna take them over here and we're gonna lay them on this trivet. This trivet is also a product of the Oyster Bed. There is one final thing I'm gonna do to these. I have a creme brulee torch here, and we're simply just gonna brown these on the top just a tad. All right, so I'm going in after one of these oysters here. Got my little piece of French bread. For all you oyster lovers, you have got to try this recipe. You're going to be in heaven, pure heaven. This is so delicious. Oh, it's good. I don't know how else to put it. I would like to thank the Oyster Bed for these fine products. Did an outstanding job on these oysters. Cooked perfectly. Perfect accessory to do such a thing with. It's going to help save our environment as well. Please go over to the Oyster Bed's website. Give them some support. Check out the products. Like I said, if you live on a coastline especially, it's just as important to you as it is me and everybody else. It's our ecosystem. And until next time, smoky ribs.